Oh man.
Oh, we did it. Welcome to another Happy Rabbit podcast. We just came back from Vegas,
We're
drove through the
tired.
night, but we went to NAB. What is NAB?
It is a
The
massive
National
film.
Broadcasters, National Association of Broadcasters.
Yeah.
And what that basically means is that's when they come out, like,
With all the new stuff.
my
All
brain-
the new
my
gear.
brain isn't working.
We need to fire Charles up. You need a coffee or something,
I
dude.
do.
But it was a dream come true. We've been talking about going to NAB for years. I mean, everyone who goes out to NAB, they're always posting on social media, and you get to see all the new cool stuff. All
Yeah,
the companies
so it's a
come out.
convention.
It's a
It's
convention.
a big convention. You have all of, anybody in the film industry, in the broadcast industry, TV, all the companies that create that stuff. So you got like Blackmagic, Sony, Small Rig, who else? Kino Flow, you name it. Like you have
Everyone.
anybody
Everyone.
is there showing off all their new equipment, all the equipment that they do have, what they have coming out, and then it's an opportunity for you as the filmmakers or clients and to go and talk to these people and actually put a face to the products that you're buying.
That was pretty cool too. I can't tell you how many times, like, I don't know, like we'd walk up to a booth and you've been talking to someone for years with this company or whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, Scooter," and you like make that connection. You had that with like Zcam.
Yeah.
Your
Ari?
Ari rep.
That
was
awesome.
You guys met face to face. And it was really cool just to make those connections and like take it one step further.
It's kind of like Kinson actually just added me as a friend on Facebook.
Oh, did he really? That's right.
Wow.
And now you're
It's just-
creating
now
a
you're there.
personal connection with people.
I made it, guys. No.
And that was cool too. Ari was talking about you coming out with the Trinity 2 and doing some demos and like things like that, which you
Yeah.
don't make those connections unless you get out to places like this. And for someone who maybe is thinking like, should I go out to NAB? Is it for me? Is that something that I'm about? I would 110% say go to NAB.
Yeah,
Like,
so let's break it
is
down.
sick.
Like, let's describe, obviously in our vlog, like you're gonna be able to watch what we're probably gonna talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
But at least we can like break it down and kind of give you more of like maybe some do's and don'ts, because this was our first time going to NAB, and like I've worked in the film industry for 20 years. This is my first time going. Right? It's always been a dream, and it's always because I'm always working. Usually, like right now,
Normally
on
a
show,
movie or yeah.
But I feel like this year, because our winter was so long and so weird, that like stuff just didn't happen.
And it worked out perfect because we were talking to a company. We were buying something new that you guys will see all over our YouTube and all over our stuff. And we wanted to go out there and actually like meet them and see what this was about. So like that gave us like the actual like initiation. Okay, we're going to go to NAB. We set the dates. We like made the time and we did it. And like for
Yeah.
me, that it was like a goal in itself. And then to go out there, like there's so many things. Like Jack from Redmond was telling me like do's and don'ts, and I think we could share some things with you guys if you're thinking about going next year. But we definitely messed up in a few parts, and then we definitely crushed it in a few other parts. So what's your biggest advice for someone going to NAB?
I guess the biggest advice that I would say is you should definitely need to plan it out. Like, there's a reason why on the NAB website they're like, plan out your trip and do a schedule and whatever. And it's like, yeah, there is a reason why.
And
It's
they give
because
you
it's-
tools for that.
Yeah, it's so freaking big. Like, download the app, go through and find out where all your vendors are, and like do this like weeks before.
I actually saw a guy with a 3-ring binder as we were walking by. He had each page laminated, like he print out the maps, and then he had like a marker and was creating his track of where he was going. And I
That's
think he
hardcore.
had it by day, and I was like, that's legit. He's doing his research. He knows who he wants to talk to. He's probably setting up meetings.
Yeah.
And we had a few meetings set up with people that want to talk to us, and like I just realized we didn't even talk to OC. And they were
No,
there.
we didn't. Shoot.
And there were quite a few companies I feel like we wanted to meet and talk to, and it was like,
Yeah.
you
I actually
just get
found
lost.
somebody the other day too that I was like, oh crap, we didn't talk to them either. I can't remember who it was. It was last night. Obviously.
And like Hobo Light, we randomly
Yeah.
turned a corner and we're like, Hobo Light. And so for us, I
didn't
think, what?
They didn't even tell us they were going.
I know. Hobo Light.
Yeah, guys.
We would have helped you guys. But with that, I think my biggest advice or what I'm going to do next year is create a full schedule and like lay out each room and pick where each people, because I think we thought that was like over the top or too much,
Yeah.
and like we don't need to do that. You definitely need to
Well,
do that.
you
Like,
definitely don't understand the size of this convention. Like, from most places, especially we're in Utah, we like to have the Salt Palace, and I've been to some massive conventions there. It is not even
Not even
close to
close.
half of the size of this thing. Like, it is a
if you
whole
haven't been to
building.
Las Vegas Convention Center, it's like enormous. Like,
It's I want to say it's probably 3 to 5 times bigger than Salt Palace.
It would swallow the Salt
I think
Palace.
it's the biggest convention center in the United States.
Is it really?
I'm pretty positive.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge.
So that being said, it was completely packed wall to wall, like their whole entire thing. So there's 3 different rooms. In those 3 different rooms, I would definitely recommend create a schedule. So
Yeah.
I may do a 3-ring binder and like laminate. I really like that guy's idea. And I'm gonna know like what each room has and create like an actual like plan, because I think we got overwhelmed. You wanted to go one place. I saw a cannon over here. Alex saw like
Alex
something
is
over
gone.
here.
Yeah.
And,
Like where's Alex?
He left the
Alex-
camera.
Alex walked away from the camera at a booth. But there was, and to be fair, there's a million cameras, so like someone probably just thought it was part of that booth or something,
Yeah.
and we just walked up and grabbed it. Luckily, no one took it, but it was great. So yeah, I would say definitely don't underestimate the size of NAB. It is something that is like big.
Yeah, and like
Mhm.
and they have in their app you can actually schedule
Your day.
everything inside the app. So like you don't have to like print out a binder and things if you're like, you know, a digital
If you're not like Charles,
person.
where you don't want to carry anything on you and just
Don't.
scan your eyeball for everything, then sure.
Dude, that was funny the other day.
We give Charles crap for this.
We were talking like Jillian and my daughter Cleo, like she's training to do a 5K,
Mm-hmm.
and because she sees Jillian running, right, and running marathons and stuff like that, and so she's like, I want to run like mom runs, and so Jillian started training our daughter to do a 5K, and she has this jacket on because we started in the morning, you know, and it's still like 45 degrees outside in the morning, and so she has a little zip up jacket, and we're running, and then like towards the end of the run, which you know is only like 25 minutes, like to do a mile and a half.
That's a far ways for me.
And,
Yeah, I can't do that.
she's
can't
10.
run.
Yeah, you can.
She's impressive.
and so we're running, and she like you know starts warming up in the morning as the sun comes up, and she like takes her jacket off and she ties it around her waist, and she's like running and she starts falling down, and I'm like, just give it to me, and I'm like, this is why I hate running, and I'm like, if I could just run in just a Speedo, I'm like, that's what I would wear, just a Speedo all the time. Like, I hate wearing stuff or having stuff on my body. Like, I'm like,
Minimal.
I was about to say, if Charles could be just a Speedo and nothing else, scan his eyeball to pay and check in everywhere,
yeah,
done.
I'm good.
Me and Stu had a wallet just stacked of like I got backup cash, I got all my cards, tickets printed out. Charles is here
Charles
like,
doesn't even bring his ID to
I got it on my
Vegas.
phone.
He's like, I have my electronic ID that I uploaded to my phone. I just carry my phone. I don't have a wallet. Who does that?
Hey, it works though, dude. They didn't even question it. She looked at it. It's like, all right, good.
He does the tap to pay and the tap to ID, or the look to ID, I guess.
Yeah.
I love it. And that's crazy where technology's going with that. Every booth we went to at NAB, they like scan your tag, and then they have like a code that then puts their information into their system so they can send you emails and information about the show, which I thought was really cool. There's a few where I was like, don't scan me. And then there's a few where I was like, yeah, take my stuff.
I also learned that them scanning it also helps the people who run the event to locate them next year. If you get 100 people to your booth and you're in the middle, maybe you don't need to be in the middle. We're going to get you a corner
Oh.
booth, and then the corner booth that got
Very
10,000 visitors, we're going to put in the middle next year.
That's interesting.
Helps them with it.
That's
Yeah.
smart. If you were a corner booth, you should have been grinding that, dude.
Hard. We're
Yeah.
in the middle next year.
So there's a couple other mistakes that we made. So we live in, excuse me. We
This
live
is bad.
we live in Utah, and
And
I hate daylight savings time.
we created assumptions.
We crossed over, you know, we did daylight savings time, whatever it was, like a month ago, something like that.
Wait, does daylight savings even play into this, Charles?
Yes, it does, because if it was before, when we went to Arizona, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have been the same time. But because we switch, Arizona doesn't switch.
So half the year were the same
Yep.
time, and the other half I didn't know
What?
that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, keep going.
So we were off by an
What?
hour. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
don't-
No. Well, no. What happened was we
No, but isn't
assumed.
half the time we're with Arizona though, right?
I don't know. You just.
Or are they on the same time as California?
I don't, dude. You're making me look real dumb right now. I don't-
Arizona doesn't switch over.
I
I
don't know
think
time
Arizona
zones.
and Nevada. I think it's like that's the stop, and then
That's the new
here,
line. Maybe
then
I'm wrong.
Here, and then
I don't know, dude.
I don't know either.
you're
Either
blowing my
way,
mind.
either way, we were off by an hour. So
Also-
we left too early. We could have gotten more sleep, and we showed up to the show.
No, we assumed the show started at 9,
So that was the second thing that we did is we didn't look to see what time the show started.
and then we left at
So
6
the-
a.m. from St. George.
So the time difference, and also the show opening an hour later on Sunday for whatever the reason.
We found ourselves 4 hours early.
So we had a lot of time to kill.
We were there before the parking employees. We were there before the employees. We were there before janitors.
We were first in line to get our passes.
We were there before the people were even there to set up the booth for passes.
We did get a park for free though because of
We
it.
parked front row for free,
Yeah.
and we definitely got a lay of the land. Um,
We knew where the bathrooms were.
Yeah.
But I think to Charles's point, the biggest advice I'd give there is don't feel like you need to be there like right at the beginning, right as the doors open. Jack from Redmond was actually texting us as we were waiting to like get in, and we're like, "Where you at?" Like we were all excited.
Redmond being our local rental house here in Salt Lake City.
And Jack
He runs the camera department.
runs the camera department. He's awesome. Shout out Jack and Colin.
Yeah.
But they go down there to look at new gear to buy and grow their stuff. Camera Jack, if you've heard. But so we go. I totally lost my train of thought.
Don't have to be there early or right when the doors open.
We call Jack. We're like, "Hey, where are you at?" And then Jack texts us. He's like, "I'm at the Salt Lake City airport."
He's
And
like,
Charles and
"What?"
I were like, We like woke up at 6 a.m. We've been here for hours.
Yeah.
We're like, kind of thing. And then we realized really quickly, like, you don't need to rush. If you have a schedule, it's a 3-day event. So you have 3 days. I think we try to cram
It's 4,
everything.
isn't it 4 days?
I think it's 4
Is
days,
it-
but like the last day's like more
Conferences. or something.
conferences
okay.
and like meetings and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think it's like 3 main floor days. And we tried to do it all in one day. We tried to be there right at the beginning. And we missed a lot of things. I think it was like slow down, approach it as a multi-day event, which all this advice Jack gave me. He literally told me all this. And
Yeah, so you're gonna watch this and listen to this podcast and then be like, yeah, cool. And then next year,
And then next year you're gonna do the same
probably
exact shit
same
we
thing
did because
like,
you're excited.
Oh yeah, those guys talked about that, huh?
Don't get on the train.
Don't get on the train right outside the convention center. It will take you the opposite direction you want to go.
Yep.
Or actually read the sign that
Yep.
tells you what
Yep.
direction
Read
it's
the train.
taking you.
Well, yeah.
That's your
Yeah,
fault.
that's my fault.
Yeah.
Don't ride the train though. You can't get in.
No, it was an absolute great experience, and I couldn't recommend it more for anyone in film, anyone in production, editing, producer, anyone. Like, I think Jillian would have had an amazing time there. I
It's
think
pretty cool.
Mur would have had an awesome
Yeah.
time there. Like, that shit's cool. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe we just think it's cool. I don't know.
It's techie stuff. I don't know.
It's super techy.
So what are the things that stood out to you guys that we saw?
What was your favorite? Like, yeah, your favorite thing. We'll each say it.
My favorite thing was probably the tilt arms.
Are you
I-
talking about the Porsche they had?
Yeah, I loved those.
They had
That
like a
was so cool.
60s Porsche that was like this tan color, and they had this arm on it, and
And they had a green Ferrari.
And a
with
green
an arm on
Ferrari,
it.
was
yeah.
pretty
I was
rad.
like,
which
not
makes no
practical,
sense.
but
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is sick.
it's cool. Tilt had a good booth.
Yeah, that was awesome. Definitely something I want to look into. I mean, that's so cool. It's so lightweight.
You were very like, it was cool. Charles and I took a step back because we walked up to this booth that had a Subaru STI fully decked out, crane arm. They had a shot over cam on it, just like sexy. And like we stepped back.
It
and
was Shotover's booth, by the way.
It was shot over?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. And Alex, like, just like eyes open and mouth drops. And then you see him like creeping towards the car. He's like looking inside, and you just see
Opening
him
doors.
like fully in love. And I just tapped Charles, and I'm like, you really love that shit. It's good,
That's so
dude.
cool.
It's cool.
Yeah, I like the car aspect of everything, and that was the most like high tech stuff I've ever seen.
Which is the reason why you go to NAB, is it gives you a little bit of an uphill advantage in the sense of new things coming out. You're talking to people. It gives you ideas for things to do for your company and things to bring to the table. So like people go, why would you just go look at a bunch of stuff? That's why you get to learn what to buy, what to build, things to do. I think my biggest booth that I loved would probably be the Airy booth, or DGI. It was a tie, and they're right next to each other. They all said two of the biggest booths, and probably dumped millions into those setups.
Yeah, I mean, they like Airy had a lot. I don't know if you've followed any of Airy's stuff on their social media, but they had a live band
Yeah,
Multiple.
that they were doing multicam.
They had a
shoots,
magic
like,
show?
showing off. Yeah, they had a full on
the guy
magic
trying to
show.
staple his head with his stapler.
Yeah.
I was like, where
I'm
are
like-
we? Oh, Vegas. That's right.
Yeah, that's true. I was
And
like, what is going on?
It's funny because all their social videos, like we were sitting right there, like we were just like out of the guy.
Oh,
like
just
he's like
barely?
filming the crowd, like when we were sitting there doing the lens, talking to it, like I was just off to the side of where.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome.
just funny. Made it this close into their video, but
Almost.
not quite.
So we have plans of buying some Airy equipment, some DJI equipment, and a few other things. And it was really cool to like talk to the reps, ask the questions, things you don't necessarily see off the website and like on the ads. Before you go spend like 30 grand on a drone, you want to know like, what am I getting? And I feel like all of our questions were answered.
They did really good
Yeah.
with having reps there that were extremely knowledgeable. It wasn't like you just went somewhere and asked a question and it's someone's first day.
That
They
was-
made sure they sent their the best of best.
Well,
there.
no, the freaking owners, the
Yeah.
CEOs from China, from Europe, from like, dude, that's what got me is like you're shaking someone's hand and you're like, oh, you're probably hired from the company to come chit chat. And they're like, oh, yeah, when I built this product 11 years ago in my garage. And you're like, that's cool. Like,
That's awesome.
you're creating a real relationship with the owners.
Yeah, I think that was the coolest thing for me, was being able to go and talk to like Kinson at Zcam, or my Airy rep who I've had like numerous phone calls and like a billion emails back and forth, and like
Hobo
and
Light,
yeah,
getting
Hobo Light,
faces to names we've only emailed.
OWC, like to
That was
actually
cool
like
with
sit down
OWC.
and like talk to those people and like
Wait, I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we had OWC. We use all their hard drives and all their stuff here. And Charles and I were walking in.
They were the first booth that we saw. So we walked in the front doors. OWC is right there, and they have a massive booth with like a ton of computers. You can like test out all their stuff. And Scooter and I were like, should we go and talk to them? Like, give them shit for.
Well, we use their Bay hard drives for all of our feature films.
Yeah.
They're like 32 terabyte, like big bays, perfect, under $2,000.
The Thunder Bay 4s.
Yeah.
They're great for your feature films. They're super fast. You can put them in a RAID 0. 4 hard drives in there, RAID 0. Screaming fast. And they work great for, dumping your media
But-
in a feature film. But the software, I can't remember what it's called right now. SoftRaid?
Or
So-
X-ray or something.
Something like
Soft
that.
RAID, yeah.
SoftRaid, which was the driver. So when you plugged it in, like it would show up on your computer, has so many issues. And then we have actually some really big DIT companies in town that were like, yeah, we don't use OWC Thunder Bays anymore because the software causes so many issues with the M1 chips and now with the M2s. And so now there's, they were telling everybody to buy the G drives. But the G drives aren't as fast as 4 drives in RAID 0.
And they're pricey.
And they cost way more. And so, like, I was super bummed when we had to make that switch over to G drives because I'm all about the speed.
Yeah.
When it comes to that stuff.
And you've been pitching the Thunder Bays to like every production we've worked with.
Yeah, I mean, like we buy like 3 of them like on every single movie that we do.
Yeah.
And then that becomes their storage. And anyway, so like I was super bummed and like couldn't use their products anymore. And so I was like, should we go like give them crap for it?
I'm like, hell yeah, we are here. And like, when are we
Ready to
gonna get
raise
the?
hell.
I was like, when do we get the option to like call people out like at the company?
Face to face.
And then I'm
It's
talking
true,
to this
though.
dude, and dude, I didn't know he's like the developer, like he's a software developer. That dude we were talking to
Yeah.
for like the whole company for
Oh,
like
cool.
the last 25 years or something. And so like I'm talking to him and like, yeah, we have your Thunder Bays, and I didn't know exactly what to say. I was like, I need Charles right now, and that's why I tapped you as I was walking behind you. But I was like, yeah, we use your Thunder Bays, and yeah, and he's like, starts going over a few things. I'm like, I need Charles here. Like, Charles knows more about this. And then you come over, and you start chiming in, and it was like, yeah, you know, we've had to switch to G Drive, and we just like start like hounding them. We've had problems with this, and at first they're kind of like, who are you? And you know, you kind of explain a little bit. You're like, I'm a DP. We do this many features per year. We've been buying, and when they look at it, if you're a feature film buying 3 of their raids every single movie you're doing, you're making them a lot of money. Like you're pushing money their way.
Yeah.
So they take you serious, and next thing you know, we're shaking hands with like the lead developer, and he's talking to Charles, showing him these new SSD drives they have. He goes, by the way, we fixed all those issues you're talking about. Every single thing you're talking about on the new update will be solved on the Thunder Bay 4s.
It's
And
fixed right now.
Yeah, and we're like,
They came out with an update a week and a half ago, is what they said.
oh dang.
So there's a new firmware update that you can download, and now you can just plug in your Thunder Bay into any computer, and you don't have to install any more crap. It just and it'll just work.
That's cool.
And I said, flip, yeah, like that's what I needed.
We went in there like, sorry guys, but you just lost out on us bringing you 50 to 100 grand a year and us buying hard drives to
Well, not to mention
you're
like,
the best company again. Like,
Bradley
hell
at
yeah.
Moon Rock, you know, and
Yeah.
they do like big shows. You know, like all the big Netflix shows that come through town, like all of those things. They're the DIT people for all those big shows, and like they used to use Thunder Bays too. They're the ones that told us to use G drives.
I was about
now.
to say he's the one who told me about Thunder Bays and how to like create that, and then you brought it, and I was like, okay, that's where we're going.
Yeah, and then they switched over to G drives, and I was like, yeah, we have to. Like, what else? There's nothing else out there, and so like now we can go back to Moonrock and be like, hey, you guys, like, look, actually, they fixed this,
Yeah,
which
and
is cool because they're good. It's a good product. Like,
and they're coming out with computer products that are like
yeah,
legit and a bunch of stuff. You'll see all this in our vlog too. You're probably like, what the hell are you talking about? All of this is in our vlog. So yeah, I'd say jump back a little bit though. I'd say DJI and Airy were probably tied for my number 1. But what was your favorite booth?
I don't know, dude. That's a hard one. Aries booth was pretty sick.
It was dope.
Was yeah. I don't know. That's a hard one for me.
I want to explain too, like DJI, their setup too. What we're talking about with these booths, like, so they would have obviously these tables like an Apple store, fully lit up with their products and spotlights and very displayed.
That's a good way to describe it, dude. It's very Apple Story, but in a DJI way.
Yep. And then they like added character to it, and each kind of thing had their own vibe. Not practical, like bringing in Porsches and stuff, but it was like, what's going to make people go, wow. And DJI created 2 things that made me go, wow. They did almost like a netted square 20 by 20 cage that they had the new Inspire 3. But then they created this 3D background with these LED lights, and like it looked so sick on my camera. And then they had a guy flying the drone just up and down, left to right, and you had just people just taking photos,
And we're
videos.
talking like it was like a 20 by 20 foot square
yeah,
The big
that
drone,
he was
yeah.
in, and they had like rocks and trees,
and he was like,
inside of it, and he was literally just like moving it maybe like 10 feet back and forth, you know, inside the space,
showing like landing, gearing up, and all that. But for people, it was like amazing B-roll. I'm sure the photos, just everything.
Yeah, it was pretty
Then
cool.
they had another setup with all their cameras, Apple displayed pointing in one direction, and then they had this like 3D tunnel, probably 10 feet long, kind of like you'd see at a Disneyland display, where it looked like a Star Wars setup with like a full female actor sitting there all day and just like moving left to right and doing different positions, who looked kind of like a stormtrooper or
That Princess
Princess
look or
Leia
something.
look or something. But the idea was you could then like test out all their cameras and shoot down the tunnel and see what that looked like or did with the DJI product. So to me, that booth was just like,
Mm.
And then they had this display that was like this live screen with a stage, and like we're not kidding, guys.
Yeah,
This
this was
that had to
insane.
have cost millions of dollars to set up,
I'm sure.
Oh, so
or
much.
hundreds of thousands. I mean,
What
to
was
build.
the newest, coolest tech you saw?
For me at the show, there's actually quite a few things.
Number one, Charles.
Number one
First to
product.
mind.
Yeah, number
the
one.
number
like,
one product that still right now is blowing my mind is Zolar's slash Zcam's 1,000 watt
Oh, their light.
light panel.
Yeah,
Like, and I can't remember what it's called right now. It's I don't know. I'm
it's a
not even-
new huge
They have
light.
they're coming out with a new light. It's like a 2x
but what's it
2 by
compared
3
to?
or
or it's
something?
a 3x2 or
Yeah.
something like that. But it's compared to an Airy 360.
Which is how much?
The Airy 360, I think it starts at like $16,000, but by the time you get all the accessories and everything, it's $26,000 out the door
For a light.
for one light. And if you don't know what that is, look it up, Airy 360, and it's a huge light. I want to say it's like a 4x4 or maybe a 4 foot by 4 foot, or maybe not quite those dimensions,
The
but
big
it's pretty
boys.
big. And the light output on that thing is insane. Like, it's just a really big soft source, and it's awesome, and we use it all the time. But Zcam came out with a thing that is even more mind-blowing, and it's a smaller form factor. It weighs less. It puts out more light than the Airy light does, and I would venture to say probably more light than any of the other competitors out there right now
In that
Um,
size, yeah.
in that size, and it's cost $3,000, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, my only questions with that are gonna be like, I want to put it to the test. I want to beat the shit out of it because Airy, like those lights are 10-year, 20-year lights kind of thing.
Oh, for sure, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is you have Airy, you have the Airy name behind it, right?
Yeah.
And you know that it works regardless. One thing that I do love about Zcam is that they stand behind their products and they listen to the community. And so I've been talking to them, for personal messages and whatnot, and helping them develop these things. And so they reach out to the community, and they say, "Hey, we're putting this product out there. What do you guys think of it?"
One thing I do love too is when you did show up to their booth. Remind me the dude who runs it. His name?
Kinson.
Kinson. He's like Charles, and like knew exactly the things that you have brought up on the Facebook forums and such.
Yeah, he did.
And he like right away went into the new camera and was like, Charles, 2 SDI ports. He's like, Charles, and like was pointing
2
shit
antennas.
out.
Yeah.
And he like purposely like kept saying his name in front of everything too, and I was
Yeah.
just laughing. And obviously there's a little bit of a language barrier, but I was like, he's calling you out right now.
Yeah, I know he's calling you
Yeah.
out.
Like, he's read your messages.
Yeah. which is
So that
great.
was cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
So that was probably the biggest thing for me, and that's because my lighting background, like that was the coolest thing. It's pretty rad, dude. $3,000 for that, and it's
It's
like the
unbelievable.
amount of light. Like, I wish I could show you guys. I don't know if we filmed it when I turned it up all the way.
I don't think we did.
What did he say about the tungsten too?
It's their CRI and
like
their
the closest?
SSI. And so for those of you that don't know, CRI and SSI is the quality of light that comes out of the LED. And then the higher that number is, the closer that is to 100, then the more accurate that is to an actual light source. So like an LED light fakes tungsten, and so it actually mixes like a bunch of other colors to try to make it tungsten, whereas like a normal tungsten light like these, it's just tungsten. Like there's a tungsten filament in there, you turn it on, it's 3200 degrees Kelvin, like there's no changing it. But with LED lights we have to like fake that, and we mix the light in order to achieve that. And so if you look at a light meter or a color meter, you can see the graph of each color that's helping achieve that light. And so with their lights, I can't remember the numbers, so I'm not even going to say them, but they are extremely high CRI and also extremely high SSI. And,
Wow.
and like we're talking, I mean, most lights are in the 95-ish range. really good ones like Aries are in like 97, 98 range, and these guys are pretty dang close to 100.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so it's really, really awesome. They've developed or put in a lot of time into making sure that they're doing it right.
I think my product that I'm taking away from NAB would be the Atlas anamorphic lenses that are
Agreed.
coming out.
Yeah.
Those are sick.
I've been wanting a set of lenses for a while. I've been wanting possibly a prime set, possibly an anamorphic set. Anamorphics are a lot of money, and you're really like, if you're trying to be in that lower price point of lenses with anamorphics, you're losing a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that you're not gaining. To get a good anamorphic lens, you have to spend a lot of money, in my opinion, of what I found. And Atlas changed the whole game. Not calling DZO out, but I'm going to call them out. Their anamorphic lens was not that impressive to me.
So tell everybody what the differences are,
So-
because there's a lot of people out there that aren't able to go to the show and they're not able to like see, you know, what the differences are.
So an anamorphic lens is a characteristic and a style of lens, and it does something by how they bend the glass. It stretches, and I'm trying to say
So
it
it
the best
squeezes
way.
it.
It
So the
squeezes the image and stretches it.
it's so anamorphic lens squeezes the image,
Mhm.
and then when we de-squeeze it, either in camera or in post or on a monitor, then it stretches it back out.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah.
then when it's stretched back out, that's where you get the black bars.
And that's where most monitors and such will have a de-squeeze option, so
Yeah.
you're not viewing an image. And you'll notice on an anamorphic lens, normally it will look like, it won't be a full circle. It will normally have like something covering the top, and it'll look more like a rectangle
Yeah.
in the lens. So as Charles and I were kind of poking around, looking at different lenses and seeing like DZO has a really cool like vintage, their primes, they came out with like a vintage series on them. Cost way too much. The DZO primes are great, but you have the zines and those are comparable. And so we're really like, is there a lens in that market that we would touch? And we weren't expecting it, but we saw the new Atlas lenses on almost every demo camera throughout the show.
It literally was, yeah.
They had to
Everywhere.
have brought like maybe 50 extra lenses to just put on every camera out
Yeah.
there and let these guys use them. And I was just like blown away. We went right. We didn't even know it was their booth. We just like were playing with one of the lenses, and then the guy came up and started talking. We're like, "Wow, that looks really good." And then he dialed in the monitor for us. We were doing some stuff, and we're like, "Holy shit, these look really good." And
Literally walking past, like I would say their booth needs work.
yeah, it
A
was
lot of
very
work.
small
Like
booth.
I had no idea. Like, and then their banner that they had was angled
and
like-
tucked.
and tucked back, and so you just didn't see it.
When I saw it, because I'm shorter than you, and I was like, yeah, it's Atlas, and had to like point up. to
Yeah,
it.
but like that was like 5 minutes after we were sitting there. I was like staring at the monitor, going,
Like,
"Oh
what is
shit!"
this
Like
thing?
these are the new Atlas, lenses, and I'm sitting here, and it's on like a Venice, or I can't remember what it was on, or maybe it was an Arri.
I think it was an LF.
Oh, maybe it was a 3.5. And, or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyways, I'm sitting there pulling focus, like back and forth, looking at the characteristics of the lens. And sorry, puppy. And I was like, dang, dude, these look so good. And I'm gonna say it. I hate the Atlas Orion series lenses. I think they're trash.
Big boys, like
Absolute garbage. They're
if you know what we're talking about, every rental house has them, but they're like the fat anamorphic lenses, and it's a cheaper version normally.
They were the very first affordable anamorphic lens set out there, and so I'll give them credit for that. But there
What
was,
diameter is that though? Like what one?
I think they're 114s.
I was about no, it's got to be bigger than that. They're big.
They might be 138s. I don't know.
It's big enough to where you can't use like your matte box on them.
No, I have before.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, but my matte box goes up to 138 though, so
okay, maybe that was it.
yeah, I don't know.
I say that just because I used them on a job and I had to get a different matte box for him, and I had to
okay.
use a matte box that had like a felt thing that you kind of pull around and
Oh,
like
really? A bellows?
Yeah,
Like with-
bellows,
yeah.
a cinema one,
Interesting.
because they're so fat. But
But they're garbage. There's no like anamorphic characteristic to it other than they're de-squeezing and you get an oval bowl cut.
Yep.
And that's it. And when you do anamorphic stuff, you want more out of it than that. Like you want some like funky distortions out of the lenses. You want, some cool flares and things like that. And like the Orions for me just didn't achieve that.
Well, and sorry to interrupt you. For me, the thing that stuck out the most is the flare wasn't too aggressive. Some flares to me on anamorphic lenses are like, whoa, and like sometimes like Stranger Things, they had an anamorphic lens for a few of their shots,
Mhm.
and it was like, whoa, like you could just like
Michael Bay
blue
style,
streak,
yeah.
and it was like, okay. And for me, that's a little too much of character. I want something a little more subtle but has like some taste to it. And like looking at that, I was like playing with lights, and he had a flashlight, and like it's a good like clean just like streak, and I was really
For the new
impressed
ones.
with it.
For the new ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think the new ones, they realized that their old models didn't, the Orions, right? Atlas, yeah, Orions? Now I'm getting them confused because there's the Apollo, Orion. Anyways, the old Atlas lenses.
Because those are the new ones aren't Apollo or Orion.
No, they're not.
No, they're Mercury.
Mercury's, yeah. It's confusing because Apollo, I don't know, I'm getting
They're a bunch of
confused.
space stuff.
Anyways, the old Atlas lenses were garbage, and I think they realized that, and so they came out with their new ones, which have a ton of character to them, controlled flares, and they look really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Really good.
We may purchase some. We're thinking about it. If we do buy a set, you guys will see a lot on it. We'll do a Tech Tuesday and all that stuff. What was your favorite product?
I don't remember the name of it, so that's not a good start.
You're good.
But I liked those. They had these RC cars, and that you could. They had the base, and all your tech was all in this main compartment, and then you
I
just popped
forgot
off
the
the
name
front
too,
and back, and you could switch on different things. So then you could put on a system for a rail, or you could put on off-road tires, or you could put on big wheels to go over grass.
That
And,
the
like,
thing they came out with this year was the big wheel setup,
it's so cool.
and that was so cool.
They
They
had-
had like full shocks on them.
Yeah,
and
full
everything.
extending
rad.
arms and everything on an RC car, like, and like I used to give him shit. He's like, "Oh, look, like they got RC cars in film." I'm like, "Yo, we can go fucking make one."
Well, let's explain that. So they have an RC car about as big as this table,
Mm-hmm.
huge platform, super heavy, multiple batteries, has a huge post in the middle. It can go up to like 75 miles an hour. You can push it over. It can handle up to 180-mile-an-hour winds. You can literally like jam it over. It'll go 45 and come right back. And they use them for like live events, concerts, football games, all that kind of stuff. And I think right up your alley, like car stuff and rigging, like a
Something with
kit,
wheels.
something you can control. Like it was really
It was really cool. That was a very techie place to be, man.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
We got overwhelmed a lot.
I think it was fun because we've explained to Alex so much of this world and things he can build and what that looks like on set. But for him to actually experience it and walk around and go, hey, this isn't like my friends telling me this is like this can happen. You're seeing a full industry and hundreds of companies that specialize in that one little thing. And I think it made you like probably realize like, oh shit, like it's bigger than just like one man on set doing one job. There's like,
It's massive.
yeah.
And like, just the amount of companies that was there, that's amazing. But like the amount of people that were there was a million people walking through there today.
Yeah.
Like that was insane. And I think it's a huge thing for people, especially if you are newer, to go do that thing. It's not that expensive. I think we got a discount code on their website, and it made it freaking free.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
free to walk around on the floor.
It-
If you want to go to some of the other events or dinners or whatever, then you have to like pay for those
Yeah,
tickets.
if you have
but-
To
any
explain,
interest
to
in
explain
film,
that
go.
real quick, though, if you're looking at going, on their website, you have the floor pass that just lets you walk around and see everyone. Then you can choose, and you do not have to. You literally could go for free on the floor passes and have more than enough to do for all 3 days. If you want to, they have meetings, boardrooms, dinners,
Workshops.
events, workshops that you can then purchase a ticket to, go to that booth at that certain time or that area, and join in on whatever that event or thing may be. For us, we didn't do any of that. Jack at Redmond, he said he's done it in the past, absolutely loved it, but doesn't find the need to do it anymore or in the future. He just goes for the gear. So for us next year, if we're staying for multiple days, maybe I'll do a dinner one night to kind of see what it's about. But I think I'd be more than entertained with the floor passes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you're still making those connections
Yeah.
with the people that you want to, without having to really spend any money whatsoever.
No.
We're talking in line. Guys are like, they see Happy Rabbit on us. They're like, "Oh, are you a production company?" And then we're shaking their hands, and you're doing that networking almost as you're walking around.
Yeah.
We filled up our little lanyards with business cards.
Yeah.
Oh,
In
I
3
probably
hours,
walked away with 50 cards and people's names and faces that I could probably turn into some sort of a connection in film.
Yeah, even if you got a simple point and shoot camera, if you're into film,
I think
that's
it's worth
something
going.
you have to go to. Even
Yeah.
if you care at all about it, man, go and see this event.
It's
That was
pretty
crazy.
rad. It's worth it. It is worth it. So, cool.
Well, if you guys are going to NAB next year, we will be there. Come say what's up. The dogs are ready for us to go play. But yeah, thank you guys. And
Yeah. Well, please like and
Distracted.
subscribe and hit that notification button so that way you can see the new content when it comes out. And we'll see you on the next one.
Peace.
See you.